This is part two of a two-part interview, and in this part we'll discuss, our guest here, Charles, will talk about Mexican residency, whether you should get it or whether you should go with visa runs every 6 months. In part one, he showed us his $230 per month apartment, a block from the beach in Mexico, and he talked about his cost of living. I'll put a link below for part one so you can watch that. Okay, good. So tell us, you mentioned earlier that you have residency now. Tell us, was this your first residency you've gotten around the world? And what, just in briefly, what did it cost compared to others? And how, is it difficult? What are the requirements? And would you do it again? And what are the benefits you're getting out of it? I know that's a lot. That's a very loaded question, but yeah. People are curious about that.
Yeah, well, I've probably had half a dozen different residencies, at least a half a dozen residencies in different countries for different reasons. Working, studying, tourists, retirement, but not tourists, like retirement visas. The advantage, and it depends on the country. Some places are easy, some places are very, very difficult. And you can't even do it unless you have a job or a sponsor. You cannot become a resident there. Countries like Mexico, Thailand, Malaysia, they welcome people to become residents if you have the money. That's what they're looking for, that you have the money. The advantage is you don't have to make visa runs. You don't have to leave the country or anything like that, or renew your visa, which can be easy or difficult or impossible in some countries. So that's taken care of. You're secure for a year or 2 years or 3 years, whatever the amount of time is. And there are certain benefits, social benefits, like I was talking about with health care and discounts and things like this. And
yes, it's free health care, isn't it, for a resident?
Free health care. Free health care.
And I hear it's pretty good. From what
it's not bad. It's not bad. It's rich Mexicans use their private hospitals, things too, and rich Mexicans use private hospitals. Middle class people use maybe a combination of both, and poor people, of course, use just the social medicine. But the clinics are fine. The hospitals are modern. The wait can be. It depends how, if you're going to die, they're going to take care of you. But for any kind of elective thing or something that's not so pressing, you may have to wait a period of time. But they'll take care of you. You will be taken care of.
So if you have residency and you have an emergency and you show up at the hospital, they triage you. In other words, if you're having a heart attack or a stroke or something like that, they take you in right away. And
well, there are no disadvantages. The procedures vary from country to country, from easy to difficult. The prerequisite for any of the, and this is a kind of retirement extended visitor visa. I'm not talking about employment or study. That's a different kind of thing. You need money, and in Mexico, in Mexico, it is the $20,000 US. Well, equivalent to $20,000 US in a bank in your home country. Any offshore bank doesn't count. So that is the minimum, $20,000 or income, $20,000 in income in a year, retirement funds, whatever. Again, that can be anything. That, and that will give you a temporary residence. They call it a residencia temporal. That's one. That's what I have. To get the residencia permanente, the permanent one, you need 4 times that much. So you need $80,000 in a bank. The way I'm doing it with $20,000, I only had to show the $20,000 one time. I did 1 year. And there's various papers and forms and things you have to do. And then the last year, my 1 year expired, and then I renewed. And this time I could renew for 3 years. Didn't have to show the money again, although I did provide some documents. And so now I'm on a 3-year temporary residence. I've had 1 year. This will be 3. And then after year 4, I do 1 more year of residency, and then I'm eligible to become a citizen. then I'll get my Mexican passport, retaining your American or your European. But Mexico doesn't care about what other passports you have. But I'll become a full Mexican citizen, and I'll have no immigration problems. I can own land. Well, I'll be a citizen.
And while you hold that, how many days per year do you have to be in Mexico, other than the time when you're there filling out forms?
None.
None.
Right. I can come and go as I please. In fact, after the first year, that ended during after the COVID thing last year, and it was going to be difficult for me to get back to Mexico. And then I found out that I had 90 days after the expiration date. So it says if your residency expires while you're out of the country, you get a grace period to return to the country to renew it.
That's great.
And then now I've got the 3-year one. I could go out of the country and stay for 3 years and never come back, and then show up on the day when I'm to renew, and it's no problem.
That's great.
And multiple going in and out, no exit. Some like in Thailand, I had a resident visa there, but if I left the country, I had to get a permit to leave, even though I was a resident, which was money and pay. Oh, and the cost, the original residency cost me $4,000, cost me $200, and my renewal for 3 years was another $200.
Okay, and did you do that yourself, or did you pay an agent?
I did that myself. Now there's various immigration offices around the country. Obviously, I did mine through the León, Guanajuato immigration, and I never heard a word of English in there at all. A couple of gringos were in there with their Mexican wives or people that help their girlfriends or whatever. So if you speak Spanish, if you speak good Spanish, it's still a challenge, but you can do it. If you don't speak much Spanish, your Spanish is not pretty good, you better have somebody help you with the translation. It doesn't need to be an official, although next to these immigration offices, there are all these asesoria offices that help. And like I had these forms to fill out. I had to download these forms and fill them out. And this is difficult. I don't really know what's going on here. I went next door. I paid $5. They turned all the forms out, filled them out for me. They know exactly how to do it, and for a very small money to help you out.
Wow, that's great. Maybe if you have any advice for someone who, whether they're interested in slow traveling the world like you have, or retiring in Mexico, any thoughts before you would advice for them?
Well, I would say decide on what kind of a climate, what kind of a country, what language do they speak that you're interested in. Do your research, do your online research, your library research, and then go there as a tourist. With maybe you intend on living there or not, it doesn't really make a difference. But go there as a regular tourist, get your tourist visa, your basic standard tourist visa, get yourself a hotel, and be a normal tourist there, and look around and say, "Gee, would I really want to live here?" Of course, your first couple of weeks, your first month staying in a nice hotel in a town as a tourist is not exactly the same as living there all the time. So go slowly. Go slowly. Be careful of falling in love with places too quickly, because in time, it turns out maybe there's a dark side of it or parts of it that you don't really like. I've been coming to Mexico since 1973, and I've spent a lot of time in Asia and really oddball countries. And for me, this is a piece of cake. I'm back home. This is America. Here we are. And that's, for somebody like me, this is easy. But if you haven't spent much time overseas in underdeveloped countries, well, do that. Do that extensively. Take your time looking around and see really, is this the kind of life I want? Is this the kind of life that I can tolerate? And be patient and not too idealistic about it.
That's right. That's great advice. Charles. I think something that people should take to heart if they haven't spent a lot of time outside their home country like you have. So living offshore 36 years, are you happy?
Yes. I actually wasn't even planning to settle here in Mexico at this point. After when I came back from Asia and then I did the Iraqi thing, I was on my, and I'm still actually on my way back to South America. I was in the Peace Corps in South America. I worked as a shrimp farmer in Ecuador. I've been in Argentina, all through South America, and that was years ago. So before COVID, I was on my way to South America. And at Central America, I got some El Salvador, Guatemala, some places I've been to a number of times, really want to revisit. But then COVID hit. And, then I was I was actually in Egypt at the time. And I got back here to the Americas, came down to Mexico and started, well, if this is going to last for a while, this is, the first year of COVID, well, I better find a place to hang out. So I just came down to, I had not been to the Michoacan coast, but I knew it was a very underdeveloped coastline. And sure enough, it was. And I thought, wait, I could stay here for a while to just wait for COVID to be over, basically. And then I found this little place in this little town just sort of by chance. And I thought, well, I'm still going to Central America. I'm still going to South America, but I'll just keep this little place here and this can be my home base.
Oh, cool. So you're going to go with the home base now. That's great.
I'm going to do the home base thing. Yeah, I was before COVID. I was going to do the no home base, just the backpack and got my sister's place in California and stuff. But now that I found this place, I better hang on to it.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be. I've just turned 69, so how many more years of exploring do I have? So hold on to this. I'm now that we had a couple of hurricanes here, and I had a leaky ceiling, which has been taken care of, I hope. So now I'm headed probably next week. I'm going to get the bus to Acapulco, then down to Oaxaca, Puerto Angel, and I have my friend, old high school friend's cousin, lives in San Jose del Pacifico, the big mushroom capital in the mountains of Oaxaca. He's been there for 40-some years. He actually speaks Zapotec.
Holy shit!
Spanish.
Wow!
And he's getting up there in years. So for decades, I've been on my way to visit this guy. So in the next couple of weeks, I'm going to go.
That's great.
But I'll be coming back here. Coming back to Playa Azul.
That's great. I know you'll go, but I'm going to encourage you anyway. Check out maybe you've already been there. All of the archaeological places in Oaxaca when you're there, just brilliant.
It's always been my favorite state of Mexico. I think Oaxaca and the Valley of Oaxaca, the coastline. I mean, it is exceptional.
It's a beautiful place. Well, Charles, thank you so much for joining us again as a guest star on our channel, and you always provide such great, relevant, and in context information. It's a joy to have known you now for, it seems like maybe 4 or 5 years, and you're welcome back on the channel anytime you'd like. Thanks so much for coming on today, Charles.
Hey, if you liked our video, please like, comment, or subscribe. Any of that would help our business. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much.
Click the link in the notes below this video to get a copy of this content. Plus, grab a free copy of my ebook, How I Fired My Boss and Traveled the World for 13 Years. While you're there, check out our catalog of retired cheap reports all over the world and our hobby income course that we just released. Thanks so much.